they can say whatever they want just to get me charged, and then I'll worry about it in court because they don't care. They just want the publicity of arresting me.
You really know how to get under people's skin, right? And that's a wonderful talent that you have. And I think you'd make a really good bad guy wrestler, right? And people would really like to beat you up. And you put yourself in some pretty hairy situations. You know, you're not afraid to get in people's face. You talked about how, you know, when your mom passed, it kind of gave you the strength to not really fear anything. But there has to have been a situation where you're like, oh shit, I'm going to get shanked, right? Like, surely there's been a situation where you feared for your physical well-being.
Well, yeah, I mean, in New York, there's two things. There was a trans youth rally for trans youth rights that I went to, and I kind of disturbed that. And that was in New York City, where the cops like couldn't even help me. People were like throwing bottles and stuff. And that one, I was like kind of a little nervous. I was like, let's get the hell out of here. Let's get, you know, like we had to not run, but kind of walk very fast to some blocks, and then went into a nice hotel and waited for the Uber. But yeah, that one was crazy. But one of the craziest, I think, was in the Capitol, the AOC one, or Dan Crenshaw, multiple times. Every time I get questioned by the Capitol Police in DC, I get a little nervous. Like, I film and I'm like, what are they going to do? They're probably going to arrest me just to arrest me and then figure out later what to do, you know, just to jam me up. Even though I didn't do anything illegal, they could say, oh, I harassed, I threatened. I mean, who knows what they could say. So when I've been most nervous is when I've been detained, not just by cops. I've been detained by cops all the time. I don't mind the cops in Dallas. They're pretty laid back. But the DC Capitol Police, those are the only times where I'm calling my attorney. I'm like, okay, this is not going to be good. Probably this is not going to be good. Luckily, they just detained me and let me go. But I mean, after January 6th and stuff, they can say whatever they want just to get me charged, and then I'll worry about it in court because they don't care. They just want the publicity of arresting me. So that's when I've been the most nervous. Am I nervous for like my well-being? I mean, these people at the trans rallies, they have guns and stuff. So I guess I'm kind of worried maybe they could shoot me, but no, I'm not too worried. You get so much adrenaline at these events. Have you ever been to a protest, Craig?
So the closest thing that I've been to from a protest perspective, I would say I was driving. It was after Roe versus Wade. And there were some people on the side of the road, and they were really upset, and they had their signs out, and they're yelling, and they're, you know, yelling at cars going by. And I stopped to actually talk to them because I wanted to like hear their perspective. Right. And be like, so talk, you know, I was like, you know, I'm walking up, and I was shunned before I even got there because I was told, you know, you're not allowed to be here. And this is exactly what they said. You're a white man. And you're a white man. You can't be here. And I made a video about it, you know, it was before the Side Scrollers channel and stuff. And I just kind of talked about it. And it was amazing to see the response. Most people were like, well, that's really shitty that they wouldn't even talk to you. And other people were like, you need to respect their emotions at that time. Because, you know, at protests, it's a very emotionally charged thing, right? And my big thing is I want to have a conversation. I would like to hear your perspective, right? I think there's nuance in every argument, right? So yes, I have attempted to have conversations, but in an emotionally charged environment, chances are that's not going to happen.
No, and that's exactly right. And I was only started going to protests when the COVID narrative started, and that's the first time I'd ever been to a protest. I think maybe I'd been by stuff when people were protesting, but like actually going and trying to talk to people. No, you get adrenaline. It's crazy. So that's probably why I'm not as afraid, is when you're kind of going there, you're being combative, or people are being combative towards you. It's like, you know, your kind of head is in a different place. You got a little pep in your step at these protests. At least I do. So I'm not too worried about getting hurt. And I've had hot coffee thrown on me. I've been punched. I've been scratched. So yeah, and usually I'm kind of fighting with like left-wing people that probably don't have a gun, but there have been ones where they do have guns, and I've made fun of them. And I mean, I guess I was a little nervous, but I was also just, you know, high on adrenaline.
Have you thought about pressing charges anytime you've been punched or scratched or anything like that?
Well, I mean, it's funny you say that because I'm very litigious. I sued New York City Council because I was Zooming into all their meetings, and then they kept on like kicking me off the meetings before I could speak just because who I was. And they didn't even want to go to court. They just settled the lawsuit, $15,000 settlement from the city of New York. And so that was good. And I'm also suing Dallas County because they cut me off at a county commissioner's meeting because I pulled up a magazine that did an expose, or it's actually it was like a puff piece written about the Dallas County judge, and it just mentioned in college, he did a panty raid at Baylor University where he got arrested. He wore blackface to cover their face in black, so they couldn't see him at night, and stole a bunch of girls' panties and got caught. And I just started reading this. I just started reading it in the commissioner's court, and they grabbed it and they kicked me out and they dragged me out. So I'm suing them, and they've already tried to settle, but I was really pissed and embarrassed. I'm trying to get a lot more money from them. So I want to go to court because they did violate my First Amendment right. They actually physically dragged me out. In New York, they just cut me off. So theirs, I'm suing the police, the county police department, the sheriff's department, and the city police. So that one's a little bigger one. But like, I want to sue just a normal person that's probably on a bunch of gender hormone stuff? No, I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to like just sue a normal person. But if they're like AOC, I'm suing her because she blocked me on Twitter, and I'm just suing her to unblock me. So if you're like a bigger person and you can handle it, I'll sue you. But no, I don't want to sue. People always say that. Why don't you just sue them? They beat you up. I'm like, I don't want to just sue a nobody that's going to ruin their life. I don't care about that.
So when you go to these city hall meetings, because you've throughout the North Texas area, you've been to many city hall meetings, and that's where you kind of do your stunts or your art.
Yeah, art in quotations.
That's your words, not mine.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else to call it. I mean, it's like I tried to do a bit, and it totally didn't land. I dressed up as a robot and went to the SAG-AFTRA offices here in Dallas and said that I was going to take all their jobs because I'm artificial intelligence. So I don't know how else to describe that. I mean, it's a stunt, but I'm trying to be artistic because I'm trying to make a point that they're all railing against the threat of artificial intelligence. So I'm trying to take like the opposite viewpoint on the side of artificial intelligence. So I don't know what else to call that other than art or stunt. But yeah, I'm more of a fartist than an artist.
So when you go into these meetings, is your goal? What's your goal? Do you go in with an agenda? Is it I want to make this point heard? Because I've heard you say, or I've heard people talk that, when you go in and you rap, it's all freestyle. You don't have anything. You obviously want to make a point, but if you get kicked out, that's actually a good thing. And it could lead to a potential lawsuit, for the violation of free speech. So it really kind of seems like it's a win-win because you gain notoriety, you gain clout, and potentially money from a settlement or a lawsuit when they kick you out. Do you kind of see
that's
that as
a little
win-win?
accurate? Yeah, well, because dude, I went and I spoke, and I say this all the time. I spoke very earnestly. I think the first time I spoke in Dallas City Council, I made like a 9/11 joke. I spoke serious about the COVID protocols, but I was like, you're going to use COVID just kind of like you use 9/11 to like march us into the new world order. It was even more conspiratorial than joking, but like I knew it's not the place for that. And dude, nobody paid attention. And then I spoke a couple more times, and I was just more serious than I was joking. Like I think I said some like sarcastic jokes, but nobody even paid attention. But as soon as I started going crazy, as soon as I started acting like an insane person to where they didn't know what the hell is going to happen, because there's a lot of crazy people that go in there and say, the cops came to my house, or the city's listening to my iPhone. There's people that go crazy in these meetings. They've seen crazy, but you have to like go so crazy that they're kind of scared. Like, what is he going to do? Is he going to jump over the podium? He's rapping, he's yelling. You have to be so bizarre to actually get these people's attention because they're always looking at their phone. They're not paying attention. So that is what became my, I guess, weapon of choice, was just absurdity, because you only have 3 minutes. It's an open mic. And if you try to be serious, because I saw so many other people serious talk about how I remember one, I got to find this because I talk about this all the time, where the guy was like so sad because his neighbor's house caught on fire, and then his house caught on fire while the fire department was there. He's like, the fire department was there and my house caught on fire. Like, what do I do? I'm just sitting there. I'm a loser. I didn't have fire insurance, blah, 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 blah. And you're empathetic to this guy. You're like, man, his house didn't even catch on fire, and the fire department was there, and still the fire still went next door to his house. And the city council just sits there like, all right, that's your 3 minutes. Thanks, Mr. Montgomery, or whatever, Mm-hmm. And I could just tell after seeing that, I'm like, well, I need to make fun of them. I need to call the mayor bald if he's bald. Not that I want to take personal insults, but just you kind of have to. You need to say their names. As a matter of fact, they made it illegal to say the names in Dallas. When I go to the Dallas City Council, you're not allowed to refer to them by their first name. So yeah, you gotta really kind of make them like expect the unexpected to get their attention. And then once I started to get their attention, it started to get other people's attention. And that's like the vaccine rap. They hate it because it's an ultra serious room and everybody thinks they're so important. Oh, I'm the city councilman of District 5 of Dallas. Like anybody gives a shit. and everybody's in there just basically self-congratulating themselves for being there. And when I go and act absurd, I make a mockery of it, and they are visually, like visibly, you can just see it on their face, like pissed off. And that's when I knew it was good. The more pissed I could get them, the more the viewers watching the content liked it.